So, how long does he usually take to get home from school?
Any second now. And...
I believe that's my cue. So, what are you planning to do today, Mr. Robin?
Doesn't matter now, Doctor. I've missed 4 episodes and I gotta get back to work. My name is Robin0928 and welcome back to My Little Robin Reviewing His Magic. And in this episode, we'll take a look at the good, the bad, and what we think overall in Gauntlet of Fire, No Second Princess, Newbie Dash, and A Heart-Swimming Tale. First up, Gauntlet of Fire. Oh, Spike, you well-developed character. You finally made up for Princess Spike. I love you. I love you, Spike. Let's take a look at the episode.
What a lore-filled episode. We finally got an episode that focuses on dragon culture, which we've never really gotten to see before on the show. The designs of the dragons were absolutely fantastic, combining the largest of the dragons from How to Train Your Dragon with more human-like elements. We also had a really fun adventure plot that let Spike actually be a hero. I loved how much Spike got to do in the episode. He really was the main focus, along with the friendship between him and Princess Ember, who, once again, reminds me of Daenerys Targaryen, just added to the list. Mainly due to the whole, dragons, mother dragons, you get it if you're a Game of Thrones fan. We also got a return of Garble from one of the most divisive episodes in Season 2, and he was a pretty decent antagonist. We finally got some more character development for Spike, which we severely needed for his character. So, did anything really go wrong in this episode? I do have to say that this episode is sadly predictable. Not that that's really a huge offense, but the moral and how the conflict were going to be resolved was apparent to anyone within the first few minutes. I also thought some characters really didn't have to be there, mainly Twilight and Rarity, because they felt completely unimportant in the grand scheme of things. They almost could have been completely removed and some parts of the episode would have flowed better. The comedy, while not the biggest factor of this episode, was also fairly meh. There really wasn't a standout moment for comedy in this episode. So this episode was pretty good. I really enjoyed the story, the character development, and the new additions to lore, new designs, and action-packed conflict. However, this episode has problems with pointless characters and a lack of standout comedy. However, these flaws really don't affect how much I enjoyed overall one of the best Spike episodes of the series.
Gilda, move aside. I have a new character to hate now.
I rather enjoyed the dichotomy between Starlight and Trixie in this episode. I felt she had a very interesting conflict after her magic duel. It feels much more natural than if she was perfectly fine with the main six, especially Twilight after she basically humiliated her twice, and the concept of her wanting to take subtle revenge is fantastic. I also like how much she does remind me of Starlight, who is slowly climbing the ranks to become one of my favorite characters. I also love the comedy in this episode, although a few jokes did fall flat. The animation in this episode was also fantastic, with the standout moments being the magic effects. Unfortunately, here's where we transition into the bad of this episode. Alright, here's where I'm gonna get annoyed. Everyone's kind of a douche in this episode. Not just to Starlight, but to Trixie as well. I don't know, for Starlight it feels like other ponies are giving her a hard time for stuff that they, in canon, shouldn't really know that much about. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but I feel like it's only going to be used in this episode and this episode alone. We also have to talk about how obnoxious Trixie is in this episode. She goes from being a well-rounded character with a grudge with Twilight, but eventually forgave her and left on a good note, to becoming a one-dimensional character who only cares about getting Gadget next time. Gadget next time. It's annoying that they took her character back in this direction after a great place they left her off in Season 3. All in all, this episode has a lot of good elements, but I still didn't like it as much as I thought I would. The biggest problem comes from the fact that Trixie goes back from being a fun character who had a believable arc to being a one-dimensional bore to watch. I don't think this is one of the worst episodes so far, but it's certainly not the best.
It finally happened! Jesus Christ, it's been so long!
Alright, I'm so happy to say this, but Rainbow Dash is finally a frickin' Wonderbolt. It only took 6 seasons, but another one of the character's major goals that has been around since episode 1 has finally been achieved. I loved how well the moral worked in this episode, teaching kids that some things that you worked hard for won't be the exact way you expected. The episode was jam-packed with both humor and heart in a way that I didn't expect. We also finally got back to the Wonderbolt training facility, which looks even better than it did the last time we saw it. I love the flying animation that we got to see, as the Wonderbolts really haven't been flying in person, Pony. I think. Words are hard. So, I did find a couple shortcomings with this episode, but overall they didn't really mess with it that much. But we do have to take a look at them, so let's see the shortcomings of this episode. Well, I do have to say that, once again, the Wonderbolts are the biggest a-holes in Equestria. They can obviously tell that Dash is not okay with her nickname, but they never back off her, despite her obvious stress. Instead, they choose to be the most annoying ponies in the entire series. I also felt that a large portion of the second act relies too heavily on cringe comedy.
Wait, what's that noise?
Cringe comedy. Jeez, that made me feel old. Anyways, I felt that the cringe comedy wasn't funny and more uncomfortable for the audience. It was really awkward and makes the episode grind down to a halt near the second act. In conclusion, this was a fitting end to the journey of Rainbow Dash trying to join the Wonderbolts, but it does suffer near the end with too much cringe comedy. However, the whole episode is a heartfelt and funny romp which opens the door to new story potential with her as a Wonderbolt.
I'm not doing it, Plushie Robin. I'm not gonna do it.
I'll give you $10 if you do it.
Merry Christmas to all!
It's June! Go home!
Okay!
Well, as weird as it is to have a Christmas special in May, this episode is a Christmas episode, so let's just say I love the aesthetic of this episode. I'm a sucker for 1800s architecture and gothic design, and this episode satisfies both of my loves. The songs in this episode were a mixed bag. Some, like the first song Starlight sings, are fantastic, while others, such as Pinky's song, kinda fell flat for me. We also got some fantastic alternate designs for some characters, such as Starlight Snowfall, who reminds me of someone.
I've been in Paris meeting lots of different ladies. I guess I basically missed the late 80s. I traveled the wide, wide world and came back to this.
Oh, right. Besides throwbacks to musicals about the Founding Fathers, this episode is basically the Christmas Carol story, with the three ghosts and the curmudgeon who doesn't get the point of the holiday. Although, one of the twists in this episode is that there really are stakes to the plot. If Snowfall doesn't realize the true spirit of the holiday, she plans to destroy it. This makes the conflict feel more like a conflict. While we unfortunately lose the standard death scene in A Christmas Carol, we really don't need it in this tale. It stands on its own as a decent adaptation of A Christmas Carol, while also bringing its own unique element to the table to help it stand out. Unfortunately, being that it is a Christmas Carol story, most people who know the tale won't be that shocked by anything they see in this episode. It's not on the fault of the show, but it only deviates from the original source material near the beginning and the end. For most of the episode, the story is pretty similar to the Dickens novel. I also mentioned that some songs, while fine in their own right, were not the best the series had ever produced. Finally, while I mentioned that the motivations was changed slightly, there is a big problem. The Village of Ponies were too far in the other direction. While Snowfall was going on about trying to make the world a better place in the wrong way, the other ponies made it seem like Starlight was wrong, if not stupid, for believing that studying and working hard to improve the world was even slightly important. It made me almost root for the Scrooge character, as the supporting cast really didn't exemplify the true spirit of the holidays as well, not taking the time to keep the spirit of heartwarming in their hearts throughout the year. This is a fair adaptation of the Dickens classic, albeit with a few character flaws. The music can be a mixed bag, but the design and style is fantastic, satisfying my gothic Christmas needs until I reread Batman Noel later this year. I love the slight motivation changes to make the story feel like it had a real conflict, and it will be something I rewatch when the real holiday season starts this year. And there we go, 4 episodes reviewed. I'm gonna go take a nap until we have 3 more? I'm Robin0928, and I'll see you guys next time where I'll only review 1 new episode.
What the hell is this madness?
Oh, good evening, boss. What are you still doing up? I thought you were gonna go take a nap or something.
Have you ever thought about hell, Plushie Shy?
Can't say I have.
Well, if there is a hell, I assume it looks like this.
Oh, is that why you shaved your head, Robin? It looks fine?
Oh, no. That's just because it's really hot in Mississippi and I don't want hair. Now, if you'll excuse me. I'm off to go rethink some life choices. Ah.